It's been an unbelievable season with the ZMAX Cars Tour presented by Sound Gear. Glad you followed us all year long on FloRacing. Let's find out who's going to win the season finale and the championship. TJ DeCare on the outside brings us down for the final green flag of 2024. The ZMAX 100 is underway, and Honeycutt gets a great launch on the bottom to cement the lead in turn one.
Was wondering if that decision to go to the high lane was going to pay out for TJ DeCare, but Honeycutt, remember how he won that race at Tri-County a week ago. It was getting a launch out of the restart zone, or Tristan McKee that got penalized, jumping it a little too early. Honeycutt looks like he didn't do that, but he gets out to a heck of a lead, a couple of car lengths over TJ DeCare, and right now Spencer Davis stuck side by side with Cameron Boland. This is exactly what Honeycutt needed to do, and I'm sure he was playing through in his mind all night long, knowing where he was going to start. Go out, get the lead early, try to get those max points, and hope that Davis is in a situation like this where he's side by side.
This is the battle for second. Got one car way up high. That's Honeycutt's teammate and Brandon Lopez, who got kicked up out of the groove in turns 1 and 2, kept the car off the wall, and the race will stay green. There's a couple of cars already getting loose coming off of turn number 4, while DeCare is going to hold on to second, providing a little bit of a buffer between the title combatants in Honeycutt and Davis.
Trouble in turn 2. Logan Jones got out of the groove. In fact, he was awfully loose in turn 4 that last time through. He saves it. He didn't hit anything, but it took a while to collect his race car. As Logan Jones will continue rolling, you saw Spencer Davis take a peek to the inside of TJ DeCare, who is still sitting about a couple of car lengths behind Case Honeycutt, your race leader. But this is where Spencer Davis has been so good. As soon as we fire off, he's able to try and make these moves, and very early on, contact! He shuts it down into turn 1. DeCare saves it. Now Davis gets up into the marbles. He may have a problem. Championship implications early for Spencer Davis.
Now the question is, can he get the marbles off the tires and battle back? That car still rolling slowly down the front stretch, losing a bunch of spots. Is that of Davis, who was the championship points leader?
Again, lap 5, an aggressive move to make as Davis still off the pace going down the back straightaway, and he's going to come to a stop, and it's going to draw the Shitty Coolers caution.
And at the same time, Nate Gregg came ripping around the outside with smoke billowing from his number 28 car. He stays on the racetrack. Davis will conveniently get that car refired once the caution flag flies. And Blake, this was a topic of conversation a few races ago. This may not bode well for that 29 team.
Was about to say again, it was earlier this season that a new caution rule was implemented if they felt that a driver had intentionally brought out a caution or essentially stopped on the racetrack to get one, as Spencer Davis just did. It is a minimum of 3 laps if race control deems that it was an intentional yellow, that Spencer Davis will be held. So we'll see if that's the case. We've already seen it a couple of times this season. It started out with Trayton Lapsevich in the late model stocks at Hickory Motor Speedway, but the lights are out on the HendrickCars.com pace car. The 29 is still sitting down in the pit lane, and it looks like the field is going to be coming to the green flag.
Caden Honeycutt on the outside through the Death Wish Coffee restart zone. The control car gets another good launch. This time it's going to be on the bottom, while Cameron Boland and Caden Quapple are going to fight it out for second spot off turn 2, and they make a little bit of contact off the corner.
Racing hard for second, although you can see an official is standing in front of the number 29 is Spencer Davis, bringing out that yellow. He's going to lose a handful of laps, so he's going to need a lot of help and a little bit of attrition to plague this field if he's going to be able to come back. He has 100 laps. It's better that you have this happen early, but going to be tough for Spencer Davis to try and come on back. You can see Cameron Boland makes it up to third, completes that pass on Tristan McKee, perhaps the fastest car that we've had in the second half of this season.
Look out, trouble! That's Tate Fogelman going around. Everybody's trying to get by, and somehow the field will miss the spinning 8 car. Honeycutt, the control car on the top side in the 47. Cameron Boland for Connor Jones Racing to the inside, the 67, and we're back underway.
Going to be so important for Honeycutt. Great launch through the Death Wish Coffee restart zone. Boland looks like he's just going to be able to clear in front of Caden Quapple to get to that second position. Now this is where in 3 and 4 we've seen a lot of sketchy moments. You see another one there, that is another car who's made up some ground very quickly to get back up towards the front of the field. TJ DeCare, who has a moment. Jimmy Renfrew Jr. just able to clear in front of Hudson Bolger in the 17.
Red flag up 0. He appears ready, willing, and able to force his way up if and when necessary. Here comes the Wilkesboro winner from August, Tristan McKee, who ironically had one get away from him after getting penalized for jumping the last restart of what was a shortened race at Tri-County last week. Now up to second, setting his sights on the car that outdueled him to victory lane as they're battling throughout the top 10. That was Bice kicked up to the high side, but I believe Max Reeves trying to get underneath, as it is now McKee second, Bull in third, Quapple fourth.
Tell you what is just so impressive, the speed that the Sensor Racing and Development team has brought for Tristan McKee this second half of the season. Here comes Caden Quapple, who is looking to get back, and now we have trouble in 3 and 4. Laney Bice,
and a hard hit behind him. That's
Logan
Webster.
Jones.
Oh my goodness, it appears that a line came undone on the 24 car of Laney Bice, and the field had nowhere to go. A couple of cars spun in the aftermath, but the hardest hit was by far for that of Daniel Webster in the 33 and Logan Jones in the 44.
My gosh, just look at the rear end housing on the 44, how it's completely swapped. That is such a vicious impact. And you mentioned it was exactly right. Something went amiss on the 24 car, everybody else running in it. And that's at such a fast portion of the racetrack. Again, you get back in the throttle well before the apex of the corner here in turns 3 and 4 with these Pro Late models, so they're carrying a ton of speed. And Logan Jones hard into the side of the car. Laney Bice has climbed out.
Laney Bice out of her car. Cleanup crew is assessing to the rest of the scene in turn number 4. We're going to step aside. We'll be back for more here at North Wilkesboro. The leader outside of row number 1, Spencer Davis, still 2 laps down, hoping for more cautions. We're back underway with 11 laps complete in the ZMAX 100 with the pros.
Talked about whether that top lane was going to be a concern through the Death Wish Coffee restart zone. Doesn't seem to be the case for Caden Honeycutt. Went there, got another fantastic launch, although it hasn't mattered which lane that he's been in. This is going to be the area of the racetrack where we'll see if these cars step out. We saw it throughout practice all day yesterday, especially in turns 3 and 4. These Pro Late models, they are on the throttle so much through 3 and 4 in any little bit where this car wiggles. He gets them out of shape. You can see Tristan McKee, though, up into second. Just gets by Quapple and Cameron Bolin right now, side by side for the 3rd position.
There's some fierce and tight racing going on at the front of the field. Honeycutt is checked out. McKee back to second. Bolin trying to hang on to 3rd ahead of Caden Quapple in the 35 and pole sitter TJ Decare in the 15. Bolin still trying to keep the fender outside of Quapple off 4, but it's not going to happen with Quapple taking over the spot.
Caden Honeycutt, that last lap around, just ran his fastest lap of the race. Starting to pick up a little bit of pace, and again, it's cooled significantly. We had a little bit of time to sit under the red flag, and Renfrew into the speedy dry, saves it, but you can see how free these cars are, and I think the fact that we've seen this field very aware of the fact that the middle, the top lane in 3 and 4, which has been the preferred group, I would say, especially in the late model stock car race that we saw here, it's going to be a little bit harder to work in now with some of the speedy dry and everything that's been laid down there.
Look at some of the cars in this battle right now. That's Tyler Tanner at a 65, as you see the 24 Wilson Motorsports entry that went to victory lane earlier this year with Jake Bowman at the wheel. That's Gio Ruggiero up the inside of Hudson Bolger in his return to Cars Tour Pro Late Model competition. And just outside the top 10, the 43 of Joshua Horniman. A great run for that driver and Stillwell Racing team, trying to crack the top 10 with all this intense battling happening right in front of them.
And again, Wilson Motorsports trying to make up 8 positions on the number 6 in terms of the Owners battle. The Owners Championship to get up into the top 5. Meanwhile, Renfrew Jr. right now, 3rd in that Owners Points battle, has his hands full on the inside of the number 17 of Bolger, just trying to squeeze by. They nearly touched off in turn 2.
Margin for error with these cars at this racetrack, razor thin, as they are whipping around this 5/8 of a mile oval with Renfrew trying to stop the bleeding after almost pounding the fence off 4 a handful of laps ago. Bolger trying to keep his foot in on the top side as they almost rub again on the back straightaway.
I think Bolger going to think better of it. He lets up. Renfrew will go on through, but that just shows you these cars are so on edge with how much speed they're carrying around this racetrack, and especially trying to make that move at the bottom of 1 and 2 really, really difficult as these cars step out. As you can see, Caden Honeycutt, the lead that he's somewhat built over Tristan McKee, although McKee's starting to reel him in ever so slowly. And also Caden Quapple not out of the mix either, which, again, we talked about Quapple would need a lot of help to get back into the battle for this championship. Well, one of those factors playing into that, Spencer Davis having some issues, has come to fruition right now. If Caden Honeycutt has a problem, is Caden Quapple in the middle of this championship battle as well? I know we haven't talked about it that much because of the gap that was back, but Quapple has a chance should something happen to the 47.
Have to see if enough cars have fallen out of the race to allow Davis to finish far enough back in order for Quapple to remain in contention. Again, math, not my first strong suit, so I'm glad that's not on our docket for tonight as far as covering the action. There is a bit of irony between the fact that Honeycutt and McKee are first and second right now as things stand. They were the front row for the final restart last time. McKee trying to put that behind him in what's been a great second half of the season for the very young driver in the Sensor Racing and Development number 6 team, with Quapple continuing to hound him, and with Caden not having a lot of pressure behind him. This is something that we talked to Travis Braden about at South Boston. Being that Caden's got some room behind him before he feels any pressure, he's experimenting a little bit in terms of what lane may work for him to try to get to the back bumper of that number 6 Chevy.
Well, again, it seems what we saw in this race in August was the fact that the groove, especially in 1 and 2, started to move up the racetrack just a little bit. You can see this time in 3 and 4, Quapple trying to run the middle in 3 and 4, getting those left side tires kind of along that inside line. This is Spencer Davis, who's already up into 17th, again with a couple of cars falling out of this race. He's still not really battling anybody though, still scored 2 laps down, gets by Dylan Garner there in the 97 and Tate Fogelman on the racetrack, although it is not for position at the moment. But with how things stand, it looks like Davis is well in position. We get another Shitty Coolers caution. He goes to the first car 1 lap down. The problem I would have to worry about if you're this 29 car, Eric, is the fact if Caden Honeycutt can catch some lap cars that would be at the tail end of the field, then they would get the free pass. Davis wouldn't be in that position. So you're hoping that at some point the Shitty Coolers caution would come out before Honeycutt would catch up to the final car in the lead lap, which right now would be Terry Kreider.
And perhaps the good news for Davis is that if that fuel break does come, and we believe it might, around lap 35, lap 40, that's going to put us about 10 laps shy of what would be our next competition caution. So that's 10 less laps for Caden to have to catch the last car on the lead lap to put Davis in that position. I bet Spencer and team are collectively holding their breath to hope that he can at least get a shot to be in position to be 1 lap down after that break.
Good thing is now if you're Davis, you're not really having to push that hard, right? You're saving, you're not really racing anybody at the moment right now, as Honeycutt looks like he got a little bit free at the top end of 1 and 2 there going into turn number 1. They'll pass a Cheslack again. Lap car on the bottom. Tristan McKee, though, has been very even these last couple of laps with what Honeycutt's been able to run. This is that battle we were talking about a little earlier. This time it is Max Reeves right now, the car number 88, who's moved up into the 6th position. Had a fun night in Tri-County running both the Pro Late Models and the Late Model stock through that of Max Reeves, but a very solid drive up to this point has put him up in the 6th position.
Car trying to get around him. Giovanni Ruggiero has had a jam-packed schedule with all forms of stock cars. ASA CRA Super Series, where he grabbed a couple of wins earlier this season, has run some Marco Menard Series races for Venerini Motorsports. As he looks to the inside of Reeves, this is his 6th Cars Tour Pro Late Model start, but first of 2024. He now runs door-to-door with Max Reeves as this battle will continue into turn number 1, with Ruggiero trying to climb his way up the pack, and he almost comes up into the left door number of the 88, and it's now a 3-car fight for position as Jimmy Renfrew has arrived on the scene.
Reeves doing a great job making it difficult, is now sliding up is Ruggiero. Here comes Jimmy Renfrew Jr., who's going to think better of it going down into 1 and 2. Reeves sees that there was a little bit of a decision there for Ruggiero, so he tries to run the bottom in 1 and 2, but I think has to defend, was just trying to see if there's a little bit of grip down there, but this time off of 3 and 4. Man, Reeves almost caught the wall, much like we saw yesterday in qualifying with Aaron Donnelly. A little bit tight right there as Reeves checks up again. Here comes Ruggiero with another run.
Should also be noted, there is a relationship between the 24 and 00. It's a Renfrew Motorsports entry with Wilson Motorsports. The car in front of the 00, the 24 of Ruggiero, as they're all sliding off turn 4, is a Wilson Motorsports house team as well. So there may be a little bit more room given between those two. Not so much between the 24 and 88, as they are still battling for this spot on the back straightaway.
right at the edge of where that speedy dry is. Reeves doing a great job. But also, if you're Ruggiero, the laps go on by, you move up the racetrack a little bit more, trying to jockey for position, running that middle groove. But Reeves doing a great job, just a little bit too strong right now. However, can Ruggiero clear him off the corner? No, and then Renfrew, unfortunately for him, just has to hope that these two settle it at some point, and you can see every single lap that goes by, Ruggiero getting a little more confident, willing to move up the racetrack just a little bit more, and he wanted to try and take that real estate from Max Reeves, and off at turn 4, he's finally going to be able to clear that 88 car.
And it's the battle for 6th, as now Reeves has his hands full with the driver trying to sew up Rookie of the Year honors, Jimmy Renfrew Jr. BSCI Energy Impact Systems Rookie of the Race last week, now trying to win the Rookie of the Year title, and he may have used up Reeves a little bit there off 2 to get the 7th spot away.
Just had to check up and let out of the gas with Max Reeves in an awkward part of the corner there. That allowed the other car to go on by. Now here comes Caden Honeycutt. It's all in trouble. That's Travis Braden, who is slow in the middle at the top end of turn 2. And I believe that will draw. Yes, it will. The Shitty Coolers caution.
Laps. Honeycutt, the control car on the outside of the 47, trying to wrap up a title with a win at Wilkesboro. We're back underway with 60 laps to go. He elected to start on the bottom, behind that, I should say alongside that of Honeycutt. Now trying to fend off Caden Quapple, who's ripping the top to try to get to 2nd.
Was just about to say, this is the most pressure that Honeycutt has felt all night up to this point, and he's finally able to drive away. McKee and Quapple locked in a battle side by side for that 2nd position. May allow Honeycutt to drive away just a little bit, but right now, Caden Quapple looking great through the middle of turns 3 and 4, holding that 6 car down on the bottom at bay. Can't make the move into 1. Is now McKee trying to nudge his way by to take the spot.
And he will do so with authority. McKee now back to 2nd. Quapple running in 3rd position. And the new challengers crack the top 5, make that the top 4. Gio Ruggiero for Wilson Motorsports into 4th, setting his sights on the front 3.
Tate Fogelman also came down into the pit area. Boland gets shoved up the racetrack in turns 1. It looks like DeCare is able to get his way by. And now Renfrew looks for a chance to try to get underneath TJ DeCare. Not able to do it. Boland still digging to the top side.
Boland in that 67 car, the last time that we were here in August, he absolutely destroyed his family-owned late model stock car. What was a big pile up in the front stretch, 8 laps into that race, and he has not been able to put the car back together since. His good buddy Connor Jones offered him the key to this race car. He doesn't know what he's doing yet for 2025, but he has been so grateful for the chance to display his talents, and he's trying to get back up into the top 5 as the top 3 accordion back together.
Right now sitting in the 7th position, or at least settling there for the time being, is that 67 of Cameron Boland. Meanwhile, this is further back in the field. Spencer Davis making his way by a car that is scored 1 lap ahead of him in Dusty Garris at the moment, but it is not for position. He just has to cross his fingers and hope that at some point a Shitty Coolers caution would come out to allow one of those cars to get back onto the lead lap. Right now, Joshua Hornum and Terry Kreider are the 2 cars at the tail end of the lead lap that are battling right now. You mentioned Horniman doing a great job trying to make up some spots and keep that 43 car in one piece for the time being. But up front, Tristan McKee, we talked about it towards the end of that 2nd run, that he was starting to look awfully comfortable behind the wheel, that number 6. And now that he's stretched out a little bit of a gap over Caden Quapple, he looks very solid right now, trying to run down Caden Honeycutt.
We heard from Caden multiple times throughout the weekend about his approach to this race, as we're 1 lap shy of the iRacing halfway point. And Caden has essentially been the dominant car. It's been on full display since we took the green flag and he took the lead off the initial start. But I have to wonder, with all that has gone on with the number 29 team of Spencer Davis, should McKee get there as we come to the cross flags this time, how willing will Caden be to fight for the race lead and win? It's become apparent as things stand that if he remains on the lead lap, he might be in good shape. McKee is a young, hard-fought, brass-knuckle racer, and he certainly wants to go back to victory lane after what happened to him last week. What is Honeycutt willing to do? Blake, he talked about how badly he wants to ride that elevator. I think we're about to find out just how badly compared to winning the title.
And that's going to be the case. And you think of Tristan McKee running the late model stock car race, wasn't able to truly celebrate fully, as he had his birthday on that night as well when he won here in the Pro Late Models back in August in North Wilkesboro Speedway, and would pretty much be the same case here tonight because he has to hop behind the wheel of the late model stock car. He's got a great starting spot when it comes to that race a little bit later on in the night as well, but what a track record it would be for such a young man to be able to go out and win as many times as he has done at just 14 years old, to say that I'm a multi-time winner at North Wilkesboro Speedway. I mean, how crazy is that if you're Tristan McKee?
For a racetrack that not that long ago, you never knew if it was going to come back around. It should be noted that Caden Honeycutt has officially clinched the bonus point for leading the most laps in this race. But it appears that barring something of catastrophic nature, Honeycutt may be in a good spot in terms of the title. But again, with how this track has raced all night long, should this battle for the lead intensify, that may be where he has to weigh some options, as we see Davis continuing to try to keep himself in the mix, proving that he's got a fast race car all night long with how many he's been picking off after the restarts. Unfortunately, it's just too many laps behind at this point. He's going to need a lot of help.
And he is, and there's no doubt he is brought a very fast race car all season long, especially once you get up around lap 60 or 70. That 29 has showed strong all season. You can see as he tries to pass what was at one point the car that he was battling for the Drivers' Championship in Spencer Davis. So tough to see for Davis, who again is still trying to chase that Drivers' Championship. You brought up a great point earlier that pretty much that Owners' Championship is locked up, nearly locked up at this point for him to take home all that money. But I know wanted to take home both championships here at the Pro Late Models. Very, very important, as Caden Honeycutt stretching out a little bit over Tristan McKee, but they've evened out up front for the time being. Meanwhile, they have continued to pull away from Caden Quapple, who runs in the third spot.
Should the race stay clean and green, we may see our next and last Shitty Blues competition caution of 2024 on the Pro Late Model side. 41 to go at the line here. Last time around, the margin was 0.4 of a second. This time by, Tristan got about a half a tenth in following in the tire tracks of the 47 of that of Caden Honeycutt. And we've talked about the driver in the 47. How about the race team? The plan initially was to field a car out of the Bryson Lopez stable for Brandon Lopez, who's a rookie to the tour out of Woodstock, Georgia. And then they were going to dabble in a little bit with Dustin Bryson in this 47 team. When Caden knew that he had to find a new ride and a new home, he said this earlier today, he wasn't sure that they were going to be able to hit it right off the jump. This is a relatively new team to this series and this region of racing. And I think it goes a long way to say a lot about not only Caden's talents as a driver, but the willingness of this team to rally around him, and the improvement of Brandon Lopez's results would follow. He too would start to rack off some top 10s as the season went on. He's now up to 3, and I think a lot needs to be said for Caden and the performance of this entire team in what was a deal that was thrown together in a short amount of time, and they're about 38 laps away from the ultimate payoff. But he gets wide off at turn 2, and here comes McKee.
Able to hold him off for now, but you're exactly right. He has been hot off the collar since he jumped over to this number 47 team. It started with leading 17 laps at Ace Speedway earlier this year. He was nearly able to win that race. He, in fact, won the Mahle Pistons Pole Award, but here comes Tristan McKee down to the inside looking for the race lead with 37 laps to go. A little bit of lap traffic up the road as he gets a nudge from Tristan McKee. He'll come across and lead that time, but if you're Honeycutt at this point, how hard do you fight for this spot right here? You know Davis is in a bad position. You're continuing to come up on some lap cars that will continue to make Davis's climb back to the lead lap harder. Once you're able to do that, do you fight for this win? Again, it's a trip to ride the elevator at North Wilkesboro, but if you even just get this spot to Tristan McKee, you got a Cars Tour Championship to your name pretty much locked up. So we'll see what Caden Honeycutt is willing to do here.
And McKee, what is he willing to do? Knowing what's at stake for Honeycutt, is he going to race him as he would anybody else all night long? As they click another lap on the board. Last time off turn 4, they brushed together. This time a little more separation. Here comes McKee with a big run off turn 2, looking for the lead to the inside with Terry Kreider ahead.
If he's going to make this move, it's going to have to be quick. As you see Kreider just a little ways in front of them down the front stretch, and you can see McKee realized he wasn't going to be able to make that pass, didn't want to go in 3 wide, giving some respect to your championship points leader and looking to gather it back up, try to make the moves in 3 and 4. This is something we've seen time and time again here at North Wilkesboro, especially these cars that are up in the top 5. It can take a couple of laps to make these passes, or Honeycutt making a mistake. It was him getting a little bit tight at the top end of turn 2 that really caused this, but you can see McKee right now, a little bit of contact as he goes into 3 and 4, side by side nearly again for the race lead.
He brushed that left rear fender of Honeycutt for the 2nd time in the last 3 laps. Honeycutt continues to hold down the spot. McKee looking down low. This is where McKee has been so good, coming off turn 2, and again he gets the fender down low, but not quite up alongside. For a quick update on McKee, let's go to Pike.
Eric, I just talked to the Sensor Racing and Development crew. I asked him, has he said anything about how the car is handling as he goes for the lead in turn 1? They say not much, but he said the car is very neutral, very good. Also makes you wonder if the adjustments that Caden Honeycutt's team made during that break may or may not have worked. We'll see how it pans out over the second portion of this race.
And again, McKee tries to get to the inside, but can't quite do it as they almost come together off the corner. Dusty Garris in the 22, the next car in front of the leaders, as we may be 9 laps away from the next potential yellow.
And Honeycutt, whether he's going low, whether he's going high, he has to make the correct guess here as he'll go down to the bottom in 3 and 4. Garris will run the middle. That's going to cut off the exit for Caden Honeycutt. Now Garris in his way. Tristan McKee looking to almost make it 3 wide down the front straightaway. Garris will let these two race it amongst themselves. But once again, Tristan McKee, you can see the drive that car has. Despite the fact he was able to go to the bottom, he still gets the run. 28 laps to go, and Honeycutt doing a master class in defensive driving right now.
And I think McKee cut him a big break on the front straightaway last time
he
through.
did.
He pedaled it going into turn number 1, and all the while, Caden Quapple is closing in to make it a 3-car race for the lead with about a quarter of the season left to unfold 1 lap from now.
So impressed, the talent that these young drivers have, but even Tristan McKee at 14 years old, recognizing the situation, he's going to fight Caden Honeycutt for this win, right? But knowing that Honeycutt's battling for a championship, lifting out of a precarious situation, giving some respect, and again, just at 14 years old, to have the wherewithal and the racecraft to be able to do that. Tip of the cap there to Tristan McKee, who still has a shot to win this. Again, 25 laps, it's a lot of time for this to settle out.
I should say a quarter of the race still to go in the final event of the season. I can't believe how good that 6-car is on turn 2, but it just hasn't been enough to give him the launch down the backstretch to get alongside. He'll try it off 4. To the inside comes Tristan McKee. 24 laps to go, and McKee is trying to make the move, and they touch.
A little bit of contact made there. They're going to be dead even off of turn 2. McKee slipped a little bit on the bottom. We've seen it a number of times so far tonight. Through turns 3 and 4, McKee trying to put the throttle down. Not quite a nudge, but Honeycutt still holds on to the lead at the stripe.
Oh, and he almost got clipped there again. Was that of Honeycutt from the back bumper of the 6, and I think Honeycutt has proven his point. He does not want to protect the points. He does not want to try to race defensively just for a title. He wants this race win as McKee gets another good launch off 4.
Unfortunately, his car right now just too tight off of turn 2. He loses that ground every time through. You can see McKee builds up yet another run, gets that nose just beneath the left rear quarter panel of Caden Honeycutt off of turn 2. An incredible drive we're seeing from both of these drivers. 21 to go, and Caden Quapple still in your frame and getting a little bit closer to your top 2.
The phrase, if something happens to this front 2, gets muttered quite often in cars for events because the racing at the front is always this hectic as McKee gets him going into 3. McKee to the lead. Honeycutt keeps it off the wall and will fall back to 3rd and maybe worse.
I think Tristan McKee was done waiting, as now he's going to have to take a lap or so, clean those tires off as he got way out of the groove, and that's where that dirt racing experience that he has came into play, got into the marbles, got into the speedy dry, and is going to be able to hang on to 3rd for now, which is still good enough. But I can imagine this is, contentious here at the front of the field as the Shitty Cooler's caution is displayed.
And I would imagine the timing of the Shitty Cooler's caution would still
and Honeycutt is not happy. Got to keep your emotions in check here. You don't want a penalty, though. But yes, he is not happy.
Unless, well, yeah, that looks more like displeasure. I was going to say, unless he is trying to argue his case that by virtue of the timing of the yellow, he should still be the leader. But I believe we completed one full lap after the pass was made, which may have been the indication of the urgency from McKee. You know, the team may have been saying, hey, we got this yellow coming in 2 laps. You got to make the move now. My, oh my heart. McKee to the outside of the 6, the leader. Quapple to 35 on the bottom. McKee not up to the gears that quickly. Quapple beats him to line contact. Honeycutt hit by Ruggiero, who gets McKee. They're sideways in front of McKee, and up into the wall is Ruggiero and McKee with Honeycutt barely scraping by. And that could have been it for Honeycutt, as he was able to cut the car down and miss the 2 cars who went up into the wall.
And this is why it is never over until it is over. That happened just in front of your championship points leader, as Tristan McKee climbing out of his race car that led this field to the green flag. This is how it happened. Launch through the Death Wish Coffee restart zone. Quapple got the better launch. Oh, and he may have gotten a shot from Cameron Bolin, it looks like. Giovanni Ruggiero. We'll watch it once again. Take a look at the inside lane, 24.67. They're rolling through the gears, and yet gets a little bit of contact there from Bolin. That shoots him up into Honeycutt. And then, unfortunately, Ruggiero, trying to collect the race car, chases it all the way up the racetrack. McKee, nowhere for him to go. And then he gets run into the fences. They're trying to avoid the rest of the field.
And what heads-up driving by that of Honeycutt after he was in behind McKee, who didn't get the launch on the front. As you see the damage to Gio Ruggiero's car as he brings it back to the attention of his crew. 20 laps to settle the Z-Max 100 from Wilkesboro, and we're back underway.
And with the restart violation from Caden Quapple, we went back to the last completed lap, so Honeycutt was in second. That means he's in first. He gets control of which lane he wants to be in. 20 to go. Here comes Jimmy Renfrew Jr. looking for a spot on TJ DeCare. Meanwhile, Cameron Bolin just to the inside of Renfrew in that 0-0. How about Hudson Bolger up into the top 5 as well?
Bolger making his Cars Tour Pro late model return after running some races down south as Bolin slips up, almost catches Renfrew, and Bolger's going to drop down to the inside in 3, and they touch in 3 and 4.
Is there enough room? Just barely for Bolin to make the exit of turn number 4. And meanwhile, here comes Max Reeves looking for a spot in the top 5. He's got the run off at turn number 2 to try to make that. Oh, and that's close between Reeves and Bolger there in the 17.
And look at the veteran in Travis Braden, who has rebounded from the flat tire that he had earlier in this race, and not only be up in the top 10, but battle these two out the windshield for a top 5.
Single file, meanwhile, all up front. Caden Honeycutt continuing to pull away. We'll keep it right here to watch these two continue to jockey side by side down into 1 and 2. As far as the laps and being able to make up laps is concerned, Davis would need 3 more cautions at this point to get back onto the lead lap.
Bolger is going to be able to defend the spot for now. Here up front is the battle for the final spot on the podium. Jimmy Renfrew Jr. trying to sew up Rookie of the Year honors in the Pro Late Models. Cameron Bolin trying to end his 2024 tenure in a Connor Jones Racing Pro Late Model on the podium.
Just a very Jimmy Renfrew Jr. type of race. Again, biding his time, has a very fast race car. Making his presence felt at the right time. It's pretty much what happened in his lone win of the season earlier this year at Hickory. Just was in the right place at the right time. Has had a great foray into pro late models here with the move down south from New Hampshire. What a great position and a great run this would be for him to end on a high note if he's able to hold on to this top 3 position.
Not missing anything up front. Honeycutt clear by a little more than a half a second. Then you got to drop back about a full second from second place runner TJ DeCare to this battle that is clear of Hudson Bolger, who is trying to fend off the pack. All the while, Caden Quapple has only been able to work his way back up to 10th. As this battle continues in turn number 3 for second spot between Renfrew Jr. and Cameron Bolin.
Although I would say these last couple of laps, DeCare has looked awfully strong. Don't know if Honeycutt starting to back down a little bit, realize that he just needs to keep his car under him, and he should be in a good spot here with 10 laps to go. But DeCare, last couple of trips around, has made up some time on the 47 to Caden Honeycutt. They are well in front of this battle for third that is behind them, but you can see maybe 6 or 7 car lengths or so separating your top two.
We talked about the driver change that Caden Honeycutt had to endure mid-season. The same story applies to TJ DeCare. Got the call to pilot the former championship-winning Highlands Motorsports number 96 for an attack on this series in 2024. We got into the summer months. The team announced quite surprisingly they would be shutting down their Cars Tour efforts, leaving DeCare to scramble for another opportunity and ride. Since partnering up with the Walker Motorsports team, the results have come just about immediately. And along with the pole, I'm sure that a ride up the elevator for the Walker Motorsports team would go a long way, but he's got some work to do as here's Bolin to the inside of Renfrew for third.
And Renfrew going to try the crossover off of turn 4. What a move here for Jimmy Renfrew Jr. We've just seen it be really difficult for cars to make up those positions at the bottom of 1 and 2, so Bolin able to keep the momentum, gets the spot. Cameron Bolin up in the third. Meanwhile, TJ DeCare, last couple laps, again, just a little bit faster than your race leader in Caden Honeycutt. 6 laps to go, and you mentioned TJ DeCare has made a number of starts for Rev Racing in a late model stock since the announcement that Highlands Motorsports would be going away, so has been continuing to run and build up experience both in the pro late models and the late model stock car side of things, and he pulls within just another car length or so of Caden Honeycutt. 5 laps to go.
Bolin now clearly in the third position. Here's the battle for the lead, and we'll pose the question yet again. With championship contender Spencer Davis still a couple of laps down, how willing is Honeycutt going to be to try to hold on for this win? 4 to go.
DeCare wants to ride the elevator. He wants to win his first Z-Max Cars Tour Pro Late Model race. We saw how elated he was when he was able to win the pole last night. Now he may have a shot to win at North Wilkesboro off of turn 4. 3 to go. TJ DeCare hunting down your championship points leader in Caden Honeycutt, who looks a little tight off of turn 2. Does DeCare make the move? Not for now.
Everybody in the front stretch grandstand just slid a little bit closer to the front of their seat. Chief starter Brandon Willard, 2 laps to go. Here's DeCare with a look down low. Nothing there with Honeycutt protecting the spot.
2 laps to go, and right where we saw Tristan McKee was able to try to make the move on Caden Honeycutt, DeCare going to do the same. Down to the bottom of 3 and 4, side by side. A little bit of a nudge to the white flag. Caden Honeycutt, 1 lap to settle it.
What a way to end 2024 as they almost touch again in turn 1. Honeycutt protects the race lead with half a lap to go. DeCare's got one last shot through 3 and 4. And the final checkered flag of 2024 is going to go to Caden Honeycutt, who wins the race and the 2024 Z-Max Cars Tour Pro Late Model title. A walk-off victory for Caden Honeycutt and the Bryson Lopez team, fending off a determined TJ DeCare to the line. And if anybody had any questions about how Caden Honeycutt was going to approach the night, he answered them on several occasions. He's not only a champion, but he's a winner at North Wilkesboro Speedway.
What a great effort, what a great season for Honeycutt to stick with it again after making the team swap. They go back-to-back here at Tri-County and once again at North Wilkesboro Speedway as he'll receive the VP Racing Fuels checkered flag from Carson Elledge, and I'm sure going to soak in every moment before he not only celebrates a championship, but has to head back and get ready for a late model stock car race to come up a little bit later on tonight. But I also want to give props to TJ DeCare, how he tried to race Caden Honeycutt there at the very end of that race with everything on the line. He wants to go to Z-Max Cars Tour Victory Lane and Cookout Victory Lane so badly, but gave all the respect to Caden Honeycutt, tried to make the move, wasn't going to get physical for it, and I think Honeycutt, you can even see right there, swerving and giving a little bit of a nod of appreciation to the young man who I'm sure we will see back eventually in Cookout Victory Lane at some point.
We talk about drivers knowing what their future looks like. Caden Honeycutt is already aware of what his plan is in 2025. He's going to slide on over to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series full-time with Nice Motorsports. And it was interesting to see that organization already wrapping their arms around this young man, as well as another driver who got to wheel a couple of races, and Danny Bone, who's going to compete for a Smart Modified title here in just a short while. Caden has already found what he feels to be quite the home. He's worked very well with crew chief Phil Gould, and he is going to see if he could add a little bit of room in the storage card, if you will, to his Truck Series ventures in 2025 with a Cars Tour Championship winning trophy. But the big elevator ride is what awaits for this young driver out of Aledo, Texas, whose career has been turning heads for the last 2 seasons. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, Spencer Davis, 14th at the checkered flag after the early contact and misfortune, erasing the chance for a championship for that organization, but they stayed in it all night long. And again, we'll check the math, but he should be sitting pretty for the owner's title for that organization. We'll wait to verify that with Cars Tour officials, but you can see the debrief already taking place with Honeycutt, the winner, in a thriller in our first race of the night of 3.